But before we get into the programming and such, let me go ahead and introduce my right hand, my sister in the movement, my colleague, my BFF at work, Kelsey. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey y'all, my name's Kelsey. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm very excited to be a co-facilitator here with Taisha and a senior program manager at Philanthropy Together. And just so y'all know, we are recording this session just because we've gotten a request for that. And so if you need to turn off your camera at any point, please feel free to do so. But with that, Taisha, take it away.
Awesome. Okay, y'all. So we have a packed agenda today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If you have never heard about Philanthropy Together, welcome. I encourage you to head on over to our website, bookmark it. You can check out all of our programming and learn more about our origin story. And we are a small team, but all of our staff profiles and everything, our mission statement, all of that stuff is at philanthropytogether.org. But in a nutshell, we are a global nonprofit initiative to scale and strengthen collective giving practices globally. So our mission is to expand collective giving and to grow giving circles in all capacities at the individual level, at the community foundation level, and even at the nonprofit level, y'all. What that looks like and what it means for us to scale and strengthen collective giving is we provide trainings. We tell amazing stories of giving circles and various different collective giving groups globally of the work and impact that they are doing. We conduct research, which I'll tell you a little bit about the latest research that we have done a little bit later. We host convenings. We've seen some of you all at our annual summit, which is called We Give Summit, that we host every single May to gather everyday philanthropists from all over the world. We also just build community and connect groups like you all, amazing nonprofit organizations, and just connect people so that we all can continue to grow and share resources in this space of collective giving, which is, by the way, the fastest trend. It's the fastest form of giving in the United States is collective giving. So y'all are joining us at an amazing time. So this is what we're going to do today, y'all. We are going to break down. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background, level set, do some framing around collective giving, giving circles, and then also we'll jump into just the shifting mindsets that we feel with taking on this model of giving circles and how it can set up your nonprofit for success, specifically via your development efforts and community engagement. And then Kels, I'm gonna take part one, part two, y'all, and then I'm gonna pass it on to Kelsey, who will then go through some very tactical steps as it relates to how you all can start a giving circle within your nonprofit. And then we're gonna wrap up with some Q&A. We have about 10 minutes allocated for that, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that because it's so tight, y'all, we might have to stay over, but we will end on time at 2:30. But if any of you all have any extra questions or anything that goes beyond our time I say 2:30 because I'm Central Standard Time. It might be 3:30 for you or a different time. But we will wrap up within our 90-minute allocated time. And if y'all have any questions beyond that, Kelsey and I are happy to stay on over. So let's get started. Hopefully y'all have a pen and paper. It is a very, this is a lot of this, be real, this training is very rich with a lot of information, okay? So y'all stick with us. We don't wanna leave anybody. So use the chat. Use the chat. If there's any questions and such that y'all have, Kelsey and I will be monitoring those and we can answer them live in real time or wait for the Q&A. But before we dive in, I really would like to know, we'd like to ask this question to get a temperature check of the room. What's one question that you're bringing to this space today that will help us for the Q&A and for Kelsey and I in our follow-up if we can't get to everything so we can answer them. So what do y'all want to know? What do y'all come in here? Big question for us. Drop it in the chat. We'll love to know what you all have on your mind and hearts as it relates to collective giving and your nonprofit organization. A background on giving circles and collective giving as a whole. I want to just say that collective giving, y'all, which is essentially when a group of people all come together and we pull our resources and we allocate them out into the community is not anything new. Collective giving has been around, y'all. It's been around for centuries, actually. It's rooted in a concept of collectivism, the true meaning of philanthropy, which is the love of humankind. So collective giving has been around, stretched across human history. It really is rooted in the legacy of collective action and justice and us coming together to take care of one another. So we, although philanthropy together, we're catalysts and conveners for collective giving. We did not invent it. It's been here. We've been taking care of one another in this way. So our team is just very happy that philanthropy has taken on this way of community-led and collaborative philanthropy that brings up the voices of those that are in proximity to the issues. And so in a nutshell, in a framework, y'all, this is what collective giving is. Many people come together. Everybody has agency. We give our time, our talents, our treasure. We pull our resources together, and then we allocate them out in the community by way of your nonprofit organization. We decide where those the people that contribute to those funds have a say so, and where those funds are used within your nonprofit organization and where that gift goes. And then we don't stop there. Our goal is really to activate everyday philanthropists so that you all can continue to do more work within your nonprofit organization by engaging a diverse donor base that will continue to engage with your organization even beyond their contribution, right? And that makes for a more amplified impact for your organization and also just for the community at large. Collective giving. I say these words, y'all are like, Ty, you keep using collective giving, giving circles. Like, what's the difference between the two? Collective giving is broad, right? Collective giving could include collaborative funds, women's funds, investment circle, fundraising circle, political giving circles, right? For our time today and what our team specialize in is that we specialize in giving circles specifically. And so giving circles are just one expression of the very broad term of collective giving. Does that make sense? Right? Y'all got to give me thumbs up. I'm very interactive, so I'm kind of looking to make sure I'm not leaving anybody alone. So giving circles is an expression of collective giving, okay? One of the many ways, expressions of collective giving with how these groups are showing up. And giving circles have 4 themes, and that's what Kelsey is going to really go through, the tactical steps with how you guys can get started or with one within your nonprofit organization. But all giving circles, whether they are housed within a nonprofit, whether they are like my giving circle operating as an independent standalone group of funders, all of them have 4 basic themes that that structures them. The first is creating a sense of belonging. That's so important with you all as nonprofit organizations. You're thinking about how you can leverage your donors to give more, to do more. You have to create a sense of belonging that connects your group to your nonprofit. So all giving circles they gather people. That's the first step. We gather people and then create a sense of belonging that's wrapped around the shared values of your nonprofit, of your giving circle, okay? So that's the first theme of a giving circle. The second one is once you get the people, y'all gather around the shared values, everyone feels good about coming together. We then the circle engages in learning and conversations about the work and the issues that your nonprofit is tackling. So this is very different than like checkbook philanthropy, in that some of your donors just give to your organization and they don't have any clue as to what y'all are doing, any clue as to the deep issues that your nonprofit is really working to address. This model really intentionally bakes in that learning and conversations so that your donors feel even more anchored into the work that you're doing. Gather, we learn, we discuss, we talk. Then the circle then contributes. Every person that's part of a giving circle has an amount to contribute. And so we engage the circle to give together to your nonprofit. and maybe even to other nonprofits too, which we'll talk about that, what that extension of solidarity looks like for you all to work together with similar nonprofits. But the goal is for you all to engage these donors, anchor them deeper into your work, the issues that your nonprofit is working to solve, and then they are more likely to give to your organization and give not only their treasure, but then to act in abundance in other ways that helps your organization to build your capacity and to thrive and to no to thrive and not just survive, if that makes sense. So our goal is for you to really activate a very diverse donor base that truly acts in abundance to engage in other countless ways that support your nonprofit to amplify your impact. This is in a nutshell. I like this slide. We did this so for the visuals out there. Giving circles need to be experienced fully to be understood, right? And so I would say that giving circles think of a book club and how you learn and everybody engages in conversations, right? So we giving circles have the learning spirit of a big book club. We have the teamwork of like a sports team, us coming together and being advocates for your nonprofit organizations. We like to have fun in giving circles. And so we take the funness of a dinner party. Think about the most amazing dinner party that you had. Giving circles embed that funness, and then the impact of like a campaign, right? Think about all of you all, some of you have capital campaigns that you've done. And so the impact, the big broad impact of a campaign, these are kind of ways in how giving circles can kind of be framed to kind of help you all better understand those 4 themes that I talked about. And if you still are like, I understand what a giving circle is, Ty, but I don't know, something is missing. Head on over to whatisagivingcircle.com. Kelsey, go ahead and drop it in the chat, sis. If you haven't, I can't really see the chat because I have a lot of screens open. But whatisagivingcircle.com is an amazing website that we created specifically just for y'all. It's wonderful. You can embed it on your website once y'all get your giving circles up and running. But it's a really very powerful and visually appealing way of how to break down this concept that I'm verbalizing. Also, I challenge you all. I promise you, there's over 4,000 plus giving circles in the United States alone. 4,000 plus. Many of them are on our directory. We have a giving circle directory where y'all can just see, like, to better get an idea of how they're functioning, the wording of how some of them are being structured within nonprofits and such. We have a directory at philanthropytogether.org/directory for you all to browse around. So, but why are giving circles why is collective giving, y'all, what philanthropy is recognizing as the fastest growing of philanthropy? Why are so many people taking advantage or really lean into this model? Well, it is greatly expanding for good reasons that I will share. I told y'all earlier that Philanthropy Together does research, right? Well, I'm so happy to share that the latest research around collective giving was recently launched in April 2024. We did a huge landscape research here in the United States, and this is the findings from that research. And that research report is very cool. Kels, you can drop the link there so y'all can take a look at it. It's an amazing report, inspiring report to read. But essentially, y'all, it validated us that are in the movement right now. There are nearly 4,000 plus collective giving groups that are mobilizing over 370,000 everyday philanthropists. Collectively, we have donated $3.1 billion to small grassroots community-led or community-based organizations. 61% of participants who joined a giving circle joined since 2016. So that is something that we are celebrating, y'all. The data supports us and it demonstrated us and validated us that this form of giving is really attractive to people. People are looking for a deeper way in how they can engage in philanthropy that is not just give us your money and that's it. They want a more collaborative, social giving experience, and giving circles give them that. So we're super proud of this, y'all. Between 2017 and 2023, over 61% of people joined. Another thing that research showed us was 5 key findings. And I'm doing all this level setting to really anchor y'all in the why collective giving, the what and the why, what it is and the why it's important. And then Kels will break down the how to actually do it within your nonprofit. The 5 key findings from that research are very important and should really energize y'all on like a different way how y'all can do your development efforts. Collective giving greatly, the first finding is that collective giving is greatly democratizing and diversifying philanthropy. That what that means is, and this is a testimonial, y'all can read about Joy. She's the founder of a giving circle that participated in the research. But what this means is collective giving is shifting, y'all, what it means to be philanthropic. Now, when you traditionally think of philanthropy, especially with nonprofits, we go after big money. We go after those high net worth donors who have a lot of money. We're helping y'all and trying to disrupt that to really focus on everyday philanthropists, everyday people, right? People of color especially need to be engaged. The number one reason why people don't give to your nonprofit is because they weren't asked. And so collective giving allows us to open up the space of philanthropy of who we even ask. There was a 50% increase in BIPOC representation in philanthropy since that 2016, the last research that was done. So a lot of people of color are coming into philanthropy, not even coming into philanthropy, but are engaging in this kind of form of philanthropy. Finding number 2 is that collective giving greatly expands what gets funded. Many of the giving circles, y'all, fund local community-based organizations, which is very good for your nonprofit. Take a look at this. If your nonprofit is one that serves communities of color, y'all are only getting 8% of the $499 billion that was allocated last year. That's ridiculous. If you are in a space, your nonprofit is addressing issues around women and girls, you're only getting 1.8% of that $499 billion that's allocated. And if you are in a movement of supporting LGBTQ plus causes or anything of that sort, you're not even getting 1%, it's 0.28%. So when we talk about this finding here, collective giving greatly expands what gets funded. That is helping us to bridge the inequities that we are seeing in philanthropy. So collective giving really helps all of us, your donors, to engage more deeply, as well as for us to bridge the inequities broadly of what we are seeing in philanthropy. And collective giving really centers equity when making funding decisions. People that participated in this survey that I mentioned, y'all, mentioned that they are more likely to explicitly give to organizations that are addressing racial or ethnic equity in their work. And so people really are seeing the need to better support organizations that are focused on more vulnerable communities. Finding 3 is that collective giving pushes bounds of how philanthropy is being practiced. This is great for us, because great for you all too, because this form of giving really enhances people comprehension of philanthropy or the issues that your organization is seeking to address. 77% of the members impacted reported a very positive impact of how they learned more about the issue, or more about philanthropy, or more about equity and diversity and inclusion. So it really is serving as an emerging space for donor education. So it's the opportunity for you to educate your donors with this form of giving. And finding number 4 is that collective giving deeply impacts the members themselves. I keep bringing up the term checkbook philanthropy because a lot of times that's how philanthropy has been engaging donors, is just asking them, but not really deeply cultivating a relationship with the donors. Well, we understand, and what the research tells us is that if we as change makers, you as development folks, you as philanthropy folks will engage your donors more deeply in this kind of way, not only does they're more likely to give more and engage more with your nonprofit, but it changes them. they report a positive impact of how they are able to feel confident about being a part of a solution, right? And so we know that collective giving really helps us, it has a positive effect on our mental health, on our wellness, and the agency of how we see ourselves of contributing to society and making things better. And the last finding that I want to mention is just that collective giving is serving as a catalyst for social change and social cohesion. What that looks like is that collective giving groups really is, they're very diverse. You're going to hear us talk about diversity because that's our advocacy, and what we're trying to get you all to do is to adopt a more diverse way, a more inclusive way of opening up the space for more donors to give and engage with your nonprofit. And so we know that these collective giving groups, with diversity of your donor base, 82% of them establish relationships with other individuals within the collective giving group. So it really breaks down those barriers. And so we see diverse perspectives and differences, diversity of donors and such, that matters, and that really helps them to create a sense of belonging, which goes back to kind of the original piece of the framework of the giving circle. This is just a research. We dropped it in the chat, but this is what the research report looks like. I strongly encourage you all to take a look at it because, again, it is validating. It's very inspiring to read about how this model of giving circles is really helping to disrupt and make philanthropy more equitable. Now, you guys know about what is a giving circle. What is it? You know, why it's important, why people are adopting this form of giving. I think it's also important for y'all to know how nonprofit organizations like you all are really embedding them in the nonprofit. I personally helped this nonprofit called Black Girls Smile to create a giving circle within our nonprofit. Black Girls Smile, their giving circle is Give Us Our Flowers Giving Circle. They are a grassroots nonprofit organization founded in 2012 with a mission to really provide well-being services for communities of color, for Black girls. Black girls need mental health therapy services. That's what they do. And so how they did, they created a giving circle. All funds that are raised within their giving circle goes to a specific program. It goes specifically to their therapy assistance program, which had over 2,000 people on their wait list, which is why they wanted to create a giving circle to bring more donors to support that specific program. So I'm just showing y'all examples now before I pass it on to Kelsey to go through the tactical steps of how y'all can model a giving circle. It worked with them. They now have bridged the gap and taken many of those girls, those 2,000 girls, off the wait list because they started a giving circle within our nonprofit. 1% of the Planet, nonprofit organization founded in 2002. They focus on environmental justice. Their members of their giving circle give 1% of their income to the giving circle. So it's just another way of how y'all can model it. All of the grants they give to the nonprofit organization, they give to 1%. And then 1% keeps a bulk portion of it, but then they also give out money to some of their partners that are addressing environmental issues. So that's another way of how their giving circle gives to their funds, stay within the organization, but they also flow out in solidarity to some of their partners. Development is another one. Nonprofit started in 2015. They are focusing on building Black generational wealth and entrepreneurship and helping Black people to start businesses and such like that. Personally, I helped them get their giving circle started. The individual members of their giving circle, they give any amount. They have a give what you want amount, right, of their giving circle. And then all of the funds that's pulled within a nonprofit goes to 3 of their signature programs, not just one, goes to 3 of their signature programs. So the members decide on, okay, we want to give X amount to this program or X amount to this, but all of their funds stay within development. That's an option for you all. Wella, they're based in Australia, down under. They started in 2016. They focus on women leadership and development and helping women to grow their skills and such like that, and also focus on environmental climate change action. Their members, each member of their giving circle, give $20 a week. They give $20 a week or $1,000 a year. And what they do is they do a 50% split. They keep 50% of their funds, their pool funds for Wella, which is their nonprofit. And then they take the other 50% and they give to a variety of women and gender expansive orgs that also operate within Melbourne, Australia. So they also are taking that solidarity approach. We're going to raise funds for our organization and also provide funding for some of our partners. Last one, y'all, the Latino Legacy Circle. They're based in LA, I think. They were founded in 2018. All of the members pledge a minimum of $50,000. This is an endowment giving circle, by the way. So this is really helping the nonprofit to endow themselves, to really beef up a legacy fund so that the nonprofit can sustain itself. So they have a very, very tight way of their members. They pledge $50,000 over 5 years. So the members give $10,000 a year. And all of those proceeds go to the endowment of that nonprofit organization. So that's another way if you guys are trying to start a giving circle to really build up your endowment of your giving circle. So those are just tangible examples. I want y'all to know how real this concept is and how a lot of nonprofit organizations are using it to cultivate meaningful relationship with donors and so forth and so forth. Let me check the chat. Okay. I'm gonna keep going real quick and then I'll check any questions and such that y'all have. So hopefully that was inspiring. Y'all know the what, y'all know how. I mean, what is the giving circle? You know why people are adopting this. Now you even have seen clear examples of some nonprofits that are scaling it. I'm gonna pass this on to Kelsey, who is gonna talk about tactical next steps. But before we can even help y'all with the tactical steps, we want to shift y'all for 5 minutes. I want y'all to like stick with me because as I mentioned, this form of giving is rooted in community. It is very different than checkbook philanthropy, y'all, where we are just coldly asking donors to give to our nonprofit. So we got to shift our mindset as nonprofit leaders. We got to shift our mindsets. Your donors are not banks. Everybody is a philanthropist, y'all. And so I'm making a big I'm having a courageous conversation, a safe conversation with you all as nonprofit leaders to really, I challenge y'all. Everybody is a philanthropist. Everybody, young people, older people, Black people, Indigenous people, right? People in rural area, people without degrees, with degrees, high net worth, those who don't make a lot of money, right? We got to disrupt how we are doing philanthropy that focuses on everybody and viewing everybody as with the capacity to give. And that's what this model is. So this is what we are going to be asking y'all and challenging you all as nonprofit leaders is for y'all to shift the mindset of who you are asking, how you are asking them, and what you are expecting of them when you ask. The work of collective giving and nonprofit-led giving circles is about disrupting typical mindsets of how philanthropy is currently operating that is perpetuating those inequities that I shared with y'all earlier. It's a call to action for all of us to do better, myself included, right? And so we ask that you all disrupt who you ask. Don't make any assumptions, no more on like what people capacity is to give. Y'all have no idea, but you gotta, when you cultivate those relationships, you'll find out their capacity, right? So we are asking y'all to disrupt who y'all ask to give. The future of philanthropy hinges on our ability to see all donors, especially donors of color. 83.6% of the people worldwide donated in some kind of way in 2022. So that tells us that for the bulk of us, we give. That right there just changes things as to like the traditional way we thinking of only people with wealth that give. No, almost 84% of people in this world give in some capacity. So it's important for you all to understand the behaviors and to know who are your donors. And so I challenge y'all with this. I'm not going to go through each one of these We're going to share the deck later and y'all can go through this yourself. But I challenge y'all to really think about diversity of giving with your current existing donor base. Every donor is different. African American donors have a certain way in how they give. And so you got to customize your ask, right? AAPI, Latinx giving is different, right? And so we even broke this down for you all. Again, I don't want to have to go through each one because I really want to get to the tactical steps of the giving circle. But for AAPI, that's a younger, well-educated group. So they like tech. They are more likely to give in a very technological type advanced way. And so if your donor base is not, just thinking about that, you got to know who your donors are and how they're behaving. Latinx, donors really are big on families and supporting children causes. So if your nonprofit is operating in a space to address issues supporting children, but yet you have 1% of your donors are Latinx, this is an opportunity for you. Does that make sense? So you got to know, y'all, the type, your donor behavior and who they are. Millennial giving. Shout out to all of us millennials. I'm a millennial. I'm like I think I'm an elder millennial. But I'm a millennial. But my babies, I have 5 kids. They're like Gen Z. We have different ways in how we're going to give, right? By the way, millennials make up 11% of the total giving. So if y'all are not reaching out to ussies, me, I see you, Molly, raise your hand. If y'all not reaching out to the Mollys and Taisha, y'all are missing out on money. The largest transfer of wealth is happening to millennials right now. Does your donor base include millennials? What's the age diversity of your donor base? Think about it. We're trying to help y'all to disrupt that. Again, mindset, right? Gen Z, they're a whole nother group. Okay, so we all need help with understanding Gen Z, but they're worried. 76% of them are worried about the planet. Did y'all know that many of them want to give via their phones? Sorry, they want to give via their phones. So if your nonprofit doesn't have a way for folks to give, to contribute to your nonprofit, then you're missing opportunity to engage with Gen Z. Again, the deck will be shared, but this is a snapshot on the importance of y'all understanding the diversity of your donors. Disrupting who we ask and also how we ask. The best fundraisers support donors in feeling a deep relationship and connectedness to your mission of your organization. So what does that look like, right? So starting a giving circle, in our opinion, can help you all switch the trajectory and the culture of your nonprofit fundraising to be more focused on relationships and not on the transaction. So that shifts how we ask. We're moving from a transactional fundraising mindset to a more relational fundraising mindset. And this is way from money is the focus to people being the focus. From knowing your donors through data and y'all Salesforce and all y'all fancy systems to knowing them more one-on-one through interactions. From over-reliance on the same group of donors that you ask every single year and hoping that they increase to more relationships with a diverse group of donors. From a blanket outreach approach where y'all send out just that one blanket newsletter to all your donors to a more tailored one-on-one approach of how you're asking. Y'all see that? So how disrupting who we ask, how we ask can help us also disrupt what we expect from our donors. Launching a giving circle has been seen to be mutual beneficial to everybody, to the members themselves and to your nonprofit. And this should not be just about the fundraising ask, but about cultivating your relationship with the donors. All right. Kels, you about to come up. If you have never seen our CEO TED Talk about giving circles, Sarah Lomelin, you should. She did an amazing TED Talk called Your Invitation to Disrupt Philanthropy, in which she said all the money in the world won't save us, but our beloved community can. And so as I wrap up and pass this on to my colleague to talk about the tactical steps, I'm hoping that all of this really makes sense to y'all and really inspires you and also motivates you on different ways and how you can leverage a more diverse donor base that would take people from a me to a us, a collective approach combined effort that can help multiply and amplify the impact of your nonprofit giving circle. All right, Kelsey, I went in by 10 minutes of your time, girl. So I'm so sorry about that. But let's get you started on these tactical steps, and I'll pass it on over to you, my friend.
Great. And Taisha, if you want to drop the TED Talk link, I tried to do it and then accidentally shared someone's email. That should be deleted from the chat, y'all. Sorry about that.
I got you. I got
Um,
you. I can do that right now.
But let's get into it. Many of you, the questions you were asking were the tactical steps of starting a nonprofit. Time is going to be tight, so what you'll see is that there'll be a couple slides that offer advice or activities. Those are slides that I'm going to skip over because they're slides that you can dive into without a facilitator, but we're also going to be able to stay on for questions. So the big thing here to remember is that, at least at Philanthropy Together, we're offering up two different distinctions of nonprofits. There's a traditional giving circle model, which usually is that the giving circle is independent of an organization, or if it's part of an organization, it's part of a community foundation, and it's moving money very often to multiple nonprofits, grassroots groups, and other community-led initiatives. Now, a nonprofit-led circle, which is what we're here to talk to you all about today, might also be known as a fundraising circle, a friends of circle, or a giving society. And the big difference here is that rather than giving to many organizations, the collective giving group is going to give specifically to your nonprofit or a program within your nonprofit or multiple nonprofits, but one of them always being yours. So let's go into the next slide. So today what I'm going to do is walk through these 6 core questions. Why you want to start your giving circle, what the size, shape, and level of giving for the circle will be, where you will find leaders and members to join, and how your members are going to experience the circle, as well as structure and management, and then connecting members to your nonprofit. And for many of you, you've already gotten into the why. You're working at this organization, you want to bring in more dollars, you want to bring in more relationship. So you've already gotten 1 out of the 6 there. Now, we know that starting a giving circle is hard, which is why we are sharing amazing resources with you. Right here, you can see our nonprofit-led giving circle canvas. This is a little work page that you all can work on with colleagues, with volunteers, that will really anchor and start the journey of beginning a giving circle. Next slide. So, why do you want to start a circle with your start a circle with your nonprofit? For many of you, you already know why. But here are the 4 key things to consider within your why and how to make your pitch. The purpose of the circle, who the people are, the programs, and the position. And so here you'll see below some like key notes. One of the big things here is like when you're looking at these 4 categories, think about it in the same way that you would your elevator pitch. So I believe I saw in the chat that one of you is going to be celebrating your 20th anniversary with the nonprofit's existence. So what you might say here is, let's say you do youth programming. For our 20-year anniversary, we are inviting all of our alumni to come together to support our 20th anniversary scholarship foundation. So that way, those from economically challenged backgrounds can enjoy our programming. That gives you a pitch right there. It makes a clear reason as to why someone might want to join. It makes it clear the mission of the giving circle. Next slide. And there's a lot of different whys, which you saw in the last slide. It could be creating another community, gathering friends together. There is no right or wrong why here. The big thing is just making sure that it's clear and it's communicatable. So let's go into the next question. What is the size, shape, and level of giving for your circle? The big thing that I want to say here is that there is no right or wrong size, shape, and level of giving, but all 3 of these will impact both your members' experience as well as how much money and resources you can move through this circle. Next slide. And so we're going to walk you through some examples. If you have a small circle of under 15 folks, what that will mean is you are going to create an incredibly tight-knit group of people. You should do this with an existing group of donors. It's great for in-depth learning. So let's say your organization specifically focuses in individuals who identify as houseless. You could do some deep learning around historic policies that have led to houselessness, rent increases, things like that. And so your donors, in a way, are getting trained to be advocates for your cause. Now, that being said, when you have less people, depending on the amounts that you're asking of folks, you may move less money in comparison to the 25 to 50 or the 100 range. 25 to 50 is a great mid-range to shoot for. It's a smaller structure, so you can still have those tight-knit relationships while also doing deep learning. It can be easily managed by a staff member. And within that, you can reach more donors. When you start to get to the 100 plus model, that's where it can be potentially a lot. It may require a dedicated staff person, particularly around communication, engagement. It will take some time to grow, but what you'll see from that 100 plus is you can move quite a large amount of money. Next slide. So, things to think about as you're deciding who might be a right fit for your membership and also the culture of the giving circle. What what type of culture do you want in this collective giving group? Is it going to be fun? Is it going to be formal? Do you want a bunch of like type A folks? Do you want a mixture of folks? What program areas are you focusing on? Are you giving to everywhere in your nonprofit, or is there a specific program that you want this group to champion? And then from there, are there certain populations that you're trying to get more involved in your nonprofit? Taisha mentioned millennials and Gen Z. You know, one of the biggest things that surprised me when I first joined the philanthropy field, because I'm only 3 years in, is millennials are very rarely asked to be donors. And you can't be a donor if you're not asked, unless you are like super overachiever, right? So this is a great way to invite folks into the fold. And then geography. Many folks that come through Launchpad for Nonprofits are small nonprofits, and so really making sure that you're pulling together folks that make sense for your organization. Next slide. All right, so here is some math. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but essentially what you can see here is that each jelly bean color is a different size amount, and then each jelly bean above it has a monthly giving rate. So 100, 125, 1,000. And so you can see how much each group would make. 50 people at $100 a month would make $5,000 each month. This can be over a month, it can be over a year. It's really just sitting down with the math and what your goal is to achieve this style of giving. Next slide. And so here what you can see is different ways that your members might give. This is how you might break down some of those asks over the year. One section that I always like to point out in these trainings are the tiered model and the percent of income model. For those of you who are particularly working in economic justice spaces, these two are great examples. They can be a way to talk about class. They can be a way to really get into the nitty-gritty details of what is personally significant. The one downside with these two models is that it can make it a little harder to know exactly how much money you're going to have at the end of the year or the end of the month. But as long as you're intentional and you're really sitting down with that math number, you can get a good idea of what's going on. And usually with the income piece, we never ask for a proof of income. We trust that folks know how much they're able to give within that. So next slide, please. So many of you are probably seeing this. You're like, great, I have ideas of how much I want to raise. I know how to make a pitch for this. How am I going to find leaders and members? And as a former organizer, this is probably one of my favorite parts of the training. Taisha knows it. I could literally spend hours on it. But we're at the 50-minute mark, and so I'm going to keep moving this roller coaster along. So let's get to the next slide. So here, the big thing that I would encourage you all to think about as you're recruiting members is who are the existing staff, volunteer, and donor base that you all can reach out to? Who's the person that first comes to mind when you think about the phrase frequent flyers, as I like to call them? Who are the folks that are already championing your nonprofit? They're already excited and they're asking you to do more. Tap them to join the circle. In addition to that, take a look at local informal and partner organizations and partner networks. And then, as always, it never hurts to share on social media or your newsletter. Next slide. And so this slide I like a lot because this one and the next highlights what it could look like to really dig deep into this recruitment strategy. Start with your most passionate supporters and then ask them to map out their people and who they would want to invite. And here's what I love about that. First and foremost, you as a fundraiser or as a nonprofit employee are training your biggest fans with a skill that all of us in this day and age need, which is the power and the confidence to ask our communities to stand with and donate to causes that we care most about. So first, you're doing a skill up for them. And then second, you're inviting more people from your community into your fold by asking your passionate supporters to say, hey, who in your friend group, family, community do you want to involve into this work? And in the next slide, you'll see the ripple effect that that can have. So here, what starts as one person becomes two people, becomes 2, 4, 6 people, and then so on. And so the big thing here that I would encourage you all to do is as you are starting this circle, you really want to think about at least getting 5 co-founding members. If you can, make sure that they're volunteers so that way you can hit the ground running, but staff members also are okay too when you're thinking about recruitment. Next slide. And so here is a big thing to think about is that as you're finding these co-founders, you want to make sure that you are picking individuals that can help you as a staff member carry this load because we know that it's hard work, right? So think about folks who are passionate, they show up, they're dynamic, they know how to make a pitch. All of us have worked with these individuals in nonprofits, and sometimes we even hire them into our nonprofits, right? So who are those folks that you can tap right now and say, hey, come in and build this with me? And then the other thing to consider is, are they able to commit to 1 year, 2 years of leadership to really be a steady source as you build this out? Next slide. So we are moving right along, 4 out of 6. How are your members going to experience the circle? Let's talk about it, right? What's going to bring them in the door? What's going to keep them coming back? So the big thing that we say here is that you really want to make this experience special and engaging. Think about discourse and education. Each of your groups has a specific focus, right? And what can you share and teach the members who you are trying to bring in to support? Finding opportunities to immerse these folks in your programming, bringing in expert speakers who might be your staff, throwing it out there, and facilitating conversations with community members and Giving Circle members. So that way you can really start to build the future of your dreams. And the other thing that's beautiful here is as you're bringing members in and empowering them and having folks learn more about this, they will be better able to advocate for the issues that you all care most about. Next slide. Okay, and so another way to think about it is experience through decision making. One big difference here between a regular giving circle and a nonprofit-led giving circle is how you think about decision making. If you want folks just to donate exclusively to your organization, that's totally fine. But what are other ways that you can give them agency, right? Is it potentially what program they donate to? Do they have decisions about, are there ideas of things that your nonprofit wants to try to offer insight into? Maybe you can invite them into volunteering. Finding ways about doing values and pitches are all great things that you can think about to really make it an interactive experience. Next slide. So we always like to highlight different structures in relation to engagement. And here you can see a basic 4 meetings a year structure for your giving circle. The first meeting is about building relationships, having fun, and creating trust. Maybe you decide your values for the year. You get to know each other with fun games. And then folks can come back for a book club. You talk about the work that the nonprofit is doing. You invite staff members to share their expertise. And you invite the members to talk about any experiences that they might have had with the issue at hand. And this is, again, a great way for your members to learn, but it's also a great way for them to get a more in-depth understanding of the work that your group is doing. And so within that, you can then move into diving into a shared project. Maybe you all have an event coming up that you can ask this member base to volunteer for. Maybe you have like a cleaning day that you need support with. There are so many ways to do a group project and program need. And then finally, you campaign and celebrate the gift that your Giving Circle members have all come together to join and do. Next slide. You can also do what we call a pop-up giving circle. These are one-off events. This is a very brief 2-hour session where you can see different ways of hosting. And we are more than happy to coach you on this as well. And we have a great resource in our resource library with it. So from there, we're going into our second to last question. How are you going to structure and manage the giving circle? And this is the one that folks often really want to know about. There are 4 different ways to structure. One starts with rotating community leaders / ambassadors. What's great about this is it's not taxing on one individual. It can create leadership skills. This is really great for smaller giving circles. But one thing I would say is it can get confusing to pass the baton again and again and again, particularly as you're just getting started. Another one could be a chair or co-chair model. This is great because particularly for you as staff members, it gives you 1 to 2 people who you can really point to and get support from. And the same can be said for a multiple committee or board. That is something that works really well for larger giving circles. Sometimes if smaller giving circles try to go that model, they find they have like more leaders than members, and that can create a bit of an awkward dynamic. And then finally, you can have your nonprofit-driven staff-led giving circle. Here, the staff would be very, very involved in this process. You can still work with leaders of a board or a committee, but there's a lot more control from the nonprofit lens. Next slide. And so big things to consider here around staffing and management. Maybe there is one light liaison staff who will be responsible for interacting with all the Giving Circle members. You also might have a designated donor services or programs person. I personally have found that in a lot of these conversations, as you're building out this program, it can help to have a programmatic team member and then more of a development-minded team member, just because they're going to bring different skill sets and different strengths to think about how you want to build this out and how it should be managed as a team. And then finally, the other piece is a matrix staffing across the nonprofit. And so this could involve multiple staff, maybe board members. It does require a little bit more dedication, particularly to sharing information across all the players. And it could end up becoming part of someone's like a part-time designation of sorts. So let's go to the next slide. And so here are just some sample duties for staff members. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but you can see 3 buckets here, right? There's general management, and this can be things like getting data, connecting the Giving Circle leadership to the board of the nonprofit, aligning the work. There's decision-making and education. Who's going to bring in those expert speakers? Who's going to provide that expertise? And then there's meetings and events communication, which I think many of us are familiar with in our day-to-day work already. Next slide. Oh, so another tool that we always like to highlight is Grapevine. Grapevine is an amazing partner of ours. I like to think of it as like collective giving Facebook. You can launch a page for yourself where Grapevine can collect the dollars from your members. You can set goals that are visible. You can allow for voting, and there's a whole social wall where you can talk. It's just a great program if you want a landing page and you don't want your development staff to have to worry about it, or you don't want it on your website. And they can work with any 501c3. If you are international, they're working on it, but they don't have the ability to do that quite yet. And so now we're at our last question that we're going to answer, and then we'll start to answer y'all's questions. And it's, how do you keep your members connected? The biggest special sauce about collective giving and giving circles is that it makes folks feel connected to their communities. And so this is where that shifting from transactional to relational really comes in. And it's something I cannot stress to you all enough, is just make sure you're spending a little extra time here on how you're building these connections. So let's get into it. Okay, first and foremost, engagement. People like to engage, they want to engage. We know that folks are busy, but folks also want to feel like they belong to something bigger than themselves. And what we've found is that in nonprofit organizations, there are three ways: giving, doing, and communicating, right? And so giving can look like giving money, donating goods, services, buying products, etc. Doing is volunteering, joining your events, serving in a leadership role, right? This is a great way to also get new board members in. And then communicating. Maybe your organization supports some sort of legislation. This is a great way where you can train your members on how to advocate. Maybe they write in your newsletter. Maybe they host a house party and invite some of their friends to this circle. There's a lot of different ways to really communicate out the mission of both the circle and the nonprofit. Next slide. And so here these are questions that you can think through as you are building out this circle, right? How are you going to manage the relationships? How are you going to build trust? That's a big, big one. What is the purpose? How are you going to revisit your values, your mission? And then leadership, what is leadership going to look like here? And one big thing that I'll say to all of you is that where you start isn't going to be where you end, right? That's one of the best pieces of advice I can give overall. And then the other piece that I would say and share with you all is, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I am someone who totally ends up spinning my wheels, overthinking things. Catch yourself when you're doing that and just take a chance, right? Because you can grow and shift and change. And even if something doesn't quite work out, you will have learned from that, and it will only help you be better with your giving circle as you move forward. And here you can see some membership activity ideas. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but hosting readings, inviting experts in, networking events, lobby days. These are all things that you can do to engage your member base. Next slide. A big thing to consider is sustainability. Recruitment, in our opinion, happens year-round. You always want to be welcoming new folks in. Think about ways to empower members to really feel a sense of leadership and autonomy in their giving circle so they can step into bringing in more people. And they can feel, if the staff member who's their point of contact is sick, they know who to go to or how to really support in times of crisis, should any arise. And then sustaining your circle beyond the dollar, encouraging your members to donate their time, testimony, talent, ties, and also treasure, of course. Next slide. And so here, this is another example of a giving circle activity. This is something that you could do during one of your membership meetings, particularly after you are well established and good to go. Again, you can dive more deeply into this later on when we send the slides. So next. And here are recruitment tactic ideas. Big things that you need to think about are tactics, messaging, and ideas. One thing that I always like to highlight here is you could literally do a whole session in your giving circle doing a training on mapping our connections, right? If I am in a giving circle that is for LGBTQ youth, I can sit down and write, okay, who might be interested in my community? Well, groups that would come up for me are I'm a drag performer, so the drag community has folks I would reach out to. I volunteer with another LGBTQ youth group. That's a group that I might reach out to for more members. And what's great about this is it can really help members see who they're connected to and who might be good to invite into the space. Next slide. All right, and so the big thing here, we know that we just gave a lot to you all. We know that you're like, oh my God, I just got so much information. How do I even begin to make sense of all of this? Well, we broke it down to you. Here are the 5 key steps, right? Identifying your why, creating that pitch, thinking about how this circle is going to align with your mission as an organization and your priorities, finalizing the size, shape, and level of giving for the giving circle, making sure here as you are finalizing these details that you are really thinking about your community, right? What can your community afford? Where is your community at? What feels reasonable? Determining where you're going to source your members and how they're going to experience the circle. This is great for you as a staff member to start mapping out, like just get down there with a pen and paper, draw circles, draw whatever you need, deciding the experience and structure and management, and then how to sustain your members moving forward. And we'll be here every step of the way to help you out with that. All right, we are going to have our question time. And so I invite you all, honestly, just come off mute, say your questions that you're sitting with, and we can work to get those answered.
Okay, I'm actually going to stop my screen for this so we can have a conversation. All right, let's go through the chat real quick. And Kels, let's answer. Let's start backwards. Molly had a question. Okay, how would you suggest we fold this in or not with existing monthly donors? Wonderful question, but I do want a little bit more context, Molly. So share a little bit more specifically about like where you were at, where you asked this in terms of like where we present it, so then we can answer it correctly.
Hi, I don't quite remember where we were in the presentation, maybe around recruitment,
Okay.
but we have a group of monthly donors or quarterly donors. They probably, I'm not sure the number of donors, but they probably provide about $4,000 a month in funding for us. Yet they've just been like passive donors. They're not engaged in the work in this way that we just discussed. So I'm considering launching some sort of giving circle around recurring gifts and wondering how, with the launch of a giving circle, how to recruit new members while also giving these folks an option to join this circle. Or are they two separate things?
I have a lot of thoughts on that. I'm actually working with a close friend on that. And I think you could really choose to go either road, right? So if you are trying to ask folks for a certain amount, like I want you to donate $40 a month to join these donor experiences, right? What you could do with current donors is anybody who has already upped that $40, you invite them in. And for those that maybe aren't in that 40, you say, hey, hi, Molly, like you're donating $20 and we're starting a new initiative here at my organization. Do you have any interest in upping to 40 to join us for these learnings or things like that? That's one way of framing it. The other hand, you could do it completely separately. One thing that I have seen a lot of funders do, and Taisha, like totally hop in if you've seen this. I have seen a lot, or not funders, nonprofits. I've seen a lot of nonprofits advertise their monthly donations as a circle of sustainers, a collective giving group, but then there's actually no community being built. And to me, like that is one of my pet peeves, both as a donor and as a trainer in giving circles, because really what makes this important is that community element. And so the big thing there that I would just say is like getting clear on those communications. And then the other piece is thinking about how you might be able to segment your communications. So that way, if someone joins the giving circle, and then there's like a monthly funding pitch that is different from this giving circle, that it's like clear to them, either that it's different or they're not included in that initial comms, right? Which I know can be a little complicated on the back end. So I know that's sort of a non-answer, but it really depends for you, whether you're like, these donors I think have more capacity and I want to engage them more, or if you're like, I want to start this new initiative and leave it open to them if they want to join. Taisha, you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I think Molly, I'm a former fundraiser here even before I started my giving circle here in Dallas. That's where I'm based at. And my experience with fundraising is that recurring donors, it can get stale. A lot of them, we have bucket them, they give, and then that's it, right? But if you really, really are thinking about being more intentional about, well, how can I, these donors, they've been loyal, but I want to engage in a different type of way with them, and also even maybe even potentially increase their contribution, but we have to focus on the relationship first. And so my first advice with all of you all, with your existing monthly donors, when's the last time, like it might need a refresher there, and I couldn't think of a better way than a giving circle. And so to launch a new initiative around your existing recurring donors in the form of a giving circle could re-energize them, and engage them more deeply and update them. A lot of our recurring donors, they know what we do, but they're not keeping abreast as to like our programs or like new initiatives and things like that. And you could use the giving circle as an opportunity to do just that. Re-energize them. Hey, you guys have been loyal to the soil for forever. We're excited about this new initiative. We're actually going to take our sustaining, whatever y'all call them, our sustaining donors. We're starting a giving circle with the goal to keep you all more as our loyal supporters, to keep you more abreast, to provide new engagement opportunities for y'all to engage with the nonprofit, as well as to connect with other like-minded folks who also are giving to our organization in that kind of way. So it's like, I really love the idea of starting a giving circle first, maybe even with your existing donors, because they're already been there. We just need to think about reframing it in a way of like a new initiative type deal that would re-energize them. They're more likely to even give. So like if the recurring donation is, like Kelsey said, $40, maybe we could go to $100, and especially if we have a goal in mind. Hey, this giving circle is specifically to support this program, or to really help us to build our endowment or capacity, whatever that fundraising goal is that you want to set for the recurring donors. Say that around them, and that way they have some agency, like, oh, okay, we're sustaining this particular program, and then they'll more likely to invite others as they engage and learn more. And this is exciting. I didn't know they were doing this, right? They're more likely to tap into their peers and other friends and such like that to invite to the circle. So I love the idea of starting with existing donors to jumpstart your giving circle. Those are your biggest advocates anyway. I also would encourage you to think about diversity, doing an audit of those current existing donors. If they're all white and all women, or all white and all male, then there's an opportunity to diversify them around this new initiative that is the form of a giving circle. So lots of great opportunity, y'all. I would encourage all of you all, if you have some sustaining donors, a giving circle is a wonderful way to start with them, and then to leverage to bring more people into the fold to help you all increase your fundraising goals around that. And I'm going to share my one-on-one, a link to my one-on-one. Ming, he's on here with his whole team. Thank you, Ming, for bringing your whole team. And I see y'all. at Family Bridges. I'll be working very closely with Ming and his team to like really ideate and to think about this concept with what they're doing around homelessness and such like that. And so I'm going to drop my 101 because this is more, we got to get like specific 101 where we can talk about that, Molly, for us to do that, just that. But hopefully that makes sense to you. Let's see, another question that we have. All right, Tiffany, I got you. You were mentioning you and Josh, y'all are on a call. We're going to schedule some time for us to redo this training or, just to customize it a little bit for you and your crew. What other questions in the chat? I'm looking for y'all. Marcia, ask your question, Marcia. Are you still here? Yes, you are. There you go. Yeah, ask us your question.
I have a very simplistic view of giving circles. So
Uh-huh.
this is really helpful, really expanded, what you could do more. But, I just thought if you have a giving circle, like if people give at different amounts, because my idea was people come together, give amounts, and then they kind of decide where the money goes. But what if somebody gives 1,000 and somebody gives 100? Does that, what happens? Does that change, or do you have them, all give $1,000 a year?
Yeah, so Marcia, wonderful question. This comes up with many giving circles. They're like, well, wait, should I give the same agency? Let's just say like to a person that gives a donor that gives 1,000 or 100, and I would, we are very big, we're big advocates for this with this form, with this model of a one-to-one voice, right? Because the thing is that like with my giving circle, we have a tiered level of giving. We have 250, 500, and 1,000, right? But all of our members have one vote as it relates to how the funds are allocated, because it's in the way that we frame, bring our sisters together around this concept is that my capacity to give and your capacity to give, while different, we both like my voice shouldn't be diluted less because I in life right now could only give 250. So our circle is very big about the importance of equity, even with our donors in that kind of way. So we drive equity and equality in terms of a fair voice. Everyone has the capacity to say so and have agency in where those funds are going. That is not contingent on the giving levels. And that's kind of, whoa, that's a new way of how nonprofits are movement. Because sometimes we're like, oh, well, this donor has given 2,000, so I'm gonna give them more attention. I'm gonna give them more benefits, more access. But then that really shows up. Donors see that, right? And so they're less likely to engage. They engage based off how you all are engaging with them. And the truth of the matter is we a lot of times engage more with people who give more, and for good reason. Sometimes, with the high, if a person donates a building, right, that donor should, there's reasons around that. But in terms of a giving circle, our suggestion will be for you to focus to have, if you are wanting a diversity of giving levels, that's okay. It's all in how the language and how you communicate the why behind the reason why everyone still has the same amount of voice and agency as it relates to their giving level. And, again, those tiered giving models, like the one my giving circle have, where we have the 250, 500, 1,000, that diversity is very important, because economic diversity of our donors, all of that stuff matters. But we're all on the same page, which is the goal, the fundraising goal of what we're trying to accomplish. And so I think leaning it more onto that, we have a shared goal, regardless of all the different ways and the how we reach that goal. All of it kind of matters, but it's all in how you communicate that with your donors or whatnot. That will play a pivotal role with the variations of the levels of giving that they contribute to.
Yes, thank you so much. That was a great explanation.
Yeah, and Marcia, thank you for I'm happy that you're here to learn just more, you know what I mean, more one-on-one about giving circles. They really are fantastic in that way. of trying to really meet donors where they are. I can't say it more simply than that, y'all. We're trying to meet donors where they are, and then let's cultivate relationship with them to build their capacity to give. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. Long-standing, deeply engaged donors that will become true ambassadors and advocates for our nonprofit organization. And then Liz, you said that you're hoping you will also be talking about recommended size, number of members of a giving circle too. Kel's talked about that, like, about like 25 and like the small size, if y'all start with 10 donors and what that can look like, or 25, or if you want to go to start a giving circle with 100. But specifically, did you have something, if there was something that Kelsey did not address, please feel free to ask it openly and we can answer it as well. Liz, I see you. Did you have a question about the size, additional question around the size and the number of the members of the giving circle?
Sorry, was that me?
Yeah, that's you. Yes, I think
Yeah.
that's your question.
Not necessarily the size, more, I just put another question in the chat. Just we're a national organization, but we were sort of started in one city, and that's where our national office is now. Sorry, that's my new puppy crying in the background. Just any advice around whether giving circles need to be face to face, or can you have like an online version as well, like so that we could engage, I guess, people around the whole of Australia, or would it be better for them to have their own way of connecting face to face?
Yeah, good question. My boss, our Sarah, our CEO, is actually in Australia. She spoke at Philanthropy Australia. She's doing a whole 8 tour.
She
Yeah.
spoke at the conference I was at last week. So that's how I've ended up here. Yeah. And why I'm up at 4 a.m. because I was so keen to hear all about it. So very, yeah.
Thank you
Super,
for joining us, Liz, at 4
super
a.m.
amazing presentation. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, to answer your question, giving circles can be both. You can have a virtual giving circle or in person. This is more contingent on your community. This again goes back to your people. Here in Dallas, we're very we knew for a fact when I started my giving circle, Dallas is very social. We knew for a fact, our members actually told us that whenever we did a survey, we asked them. y'all gotta talk to your people as well. Surveys are important, but they just don't need to be long. But asking folks, would y'all prefer to more in person or more virtual is convenient? Ask your people and then go from there. I promise you, they'll tell you loud and clear, hey, no, we actually are sick of Zoom. We will prefer something more in person. So then there is your question, there you have it, Liz. But to answer very straightforward, a giving circle can be both virtual or in person. It is very highly contingent on your community and what they want. Again, this is about the people and their agency and what they want. June. Oh, yeah, for sure. June, how much money is needed to start a funding circle as a founder? There's no money to start a giving circle, so to speak. Like within your nonprofit, are you asking like how much money is it going to get started? I think, giving circles, it depends on how you want to start. My circle, I'm just speaking from my own experience. My circle, when we started in our friends' living room. Literally, that's how we started. We all gathered. So we all contributed. We had a potluck. Everybody bought food. We talked about the issues. We talked about what we wanted to do. So it really didn't cost us money to start. Y'all have many of y'all are nonprofits. Y'all have spaces. Look at me. They're in a space right now. So like, think about your current resources, right? So it depends on how you want to start. Do you want to start a giving circle like big and broad with a big lunch party and like have it in person and right? So then you'll need a budget for that. But you don't really need money to start a giving circle. You need people to start a giving circle first. Like I would suggest leaning more so on like, who are you going to have as founding members, June, of your giving circle? That's what you need to start. And that go back to what Kelsey was mentioning about the 5 next step. Like, all right, so how do we break this? How do we get started? You first got to have people to start a giving circle, not money. You got to have some folks, right? So whether it's your existing donor base, Like Ming, he brought the staff here. A lot of it, okay, it's 5 staff members. We're gonna all start a giving circle. You have to have a group of people first to start putting the structure there. Using that canvas that I put into the chat, y'all, is so important to start thinking through, okay, when we're gonna meet, how many people we wanna have, what's gonna be our focus, what's our fundraising goal, all of that stuff. You don't need money to get started in that way. At that point, we're in a thought leadership piece. You need people, not money. Liz, any advice around giving circle and whether they can be online? Yep, I answered that. Cool, cool, cool. Ming, are giving circles considered unrestricted or restricted? What you mean, Ming, in terms of, yeah, say more.
Hi, sorry, that was my question. I'm Heidi.
Hey, Heidi.
So I guess, I mean, obviously there's a level of restriction, right? Because donors are saying, oh, they would want to donate toward, houseless programming or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
so I guess just on the budgetary side of things, like if the organization is houseless and a couple other programs, I guess basically, can we use any of it, part of it, for overhead, for the quote unquote administrative or indirect type stuff,
Yes.
versus specifically housing program only, like a
Yeah.
government grant or something?
Totally here. So we're big proponents of unrestricted funding. So we would suggest when you're starting a giving circle, y'all, that should be explicitly said. This unless Heidi, y'all are starting a giving circle like a Black Girls Fund, specifically for a therapy assistance program. The donors got to know what they're funding, right? What they're contributing to. So if you're starting a giving circle specifically for a certain program within your org, great. We know we're all coming into that knowing that that's restricted funding specifically for that program. However, a lot of y'all nonprofits, y'all need staff, y'all need other stuff. So I would suggest starting an unrestricted giving circle, right? Where that allows them, maybe you can do 50-50. Hey, 50% of the funds from this giving circle will go to just unrestricted, and some of it will go to a specific program. This all depends on you and your needs and what y'all donors decide. That's the agency and the beauty of this. So it varies on what y'all want to do, but giving circle, to broadly answer your question, it could be both. It could be unrestricted or restricted. It just depends on what y'all are trying to do and where y'all want this funds and such to go. But I would say, as we all know, unrestricted funds give y'all the capacity and the agency to allocate the funds where y'all need it to go, which helps you all to build your capacity to do more and all of that. So I would suggest unrestricted. Great question, Heidi. Actually, good questions broadly for all of you all. I'm going to, Kelsey, I really want some feedback from y'all. I'm going to, real quick, I have a poll I want y'all to do, because I will say this Launchpad for Nonprofit program, we created this just for y'all. This program did not exist. When we started in 2020, we were training foundations and individuals how to start. But every time we had a training program, nonprofit leaders would show up. So we created this program specifically for y'all, literally for y'all. And I know that, so y'all feedback about, okay, where we could tweak, what we need to add in. So I need that feedback from you all, Kelsey and I. So y'all, I hope that y'all walking away from here, knowing that there is a movement of philanthropic people, everyday philanthropists that want to give to your organization. We just got to create the structure, y'all, that invites them and brings them into our work. And that's where the importance and the beauty of this model of collaborative giving is, the giving circle. So I hope y'all are walking away knowledgeable about, at least one-on-one, what is the giving circle, inspired that there's a new way in how you can cultivate relationships with donors, right? And then 3, that, yeah, I promise you, y'all can grow your capacity of your organization. We just got to think about the people a lot a bit more. And so feedback around the program will help us. And then while y'all do that real quick, I'm gonna reshare my screen for like one quick second. I know we're at time, but y'all just give me 2 minutes, because I just want to share something with y'all. One, my one-on-one link and such, in case y'all want to meet with Kelsey and myself, ways to engage with us. We do one-on-one coaching sessions. I've done one with Ming. Every circle I've helped start many giving circles, and every last one of them, the most successful ones, I've met with them one-on-one to talk a little bit more specifically about their needs. I would love to do that with you all. And so I'm going to drop here in the chat just a link to my one-on-one for y'all to schedule some time with us, because, we got to get back to work and all of that. Y'all do too. So here's the link to my one, or Kelsey, can you drop that? The link is in the deck. So schedule a one-on-one with me. Let's talk more. We also offer monthly group coaching every single month. You can find me and Kelsey on the Zoom, just straight answering questions. Y'all can pop in to troubleshoot, ask more questions, connect with others. It's a really awesome space. It's free to join. The next one is on September 4th. If you can't make September 4th, go to our website and we have our listed dates of the next group coaching through the end of the year. And then, just know that we're thought leaders in this movement too. We're doers. We're constantly creating templates, tools, stuff like that we feel that y'all could use and all of that. So check out our resource library. It has even a checklist, a one-on-one checklist of how to even start a giving circle and all of that good such. And I just greatly appreciate the evaluation and y'all feedback on that piece. Here's my email address, Kelsey's email address, and even Satter's. She's in Australia right now, but she normally will be doing this training with Kelsey and I. So if y'all have any questions or anything like that, don't be strangers. We're in this together with trying to, just do wonderful things. And I just want to also thank y'all. The world so needs nonprofit organizations like you all. Thank y'all for the work that y'all are doing. We have your back in philanthropy. Me and Kelsey, we're talking to funders. We're trying to get people to give to your organizations, but we also want y'all to have the structure to be able to sustain yourselves independent of the external factors that's going on with your donors and such. And so thank y'all for your advocacy, for your love, for our community. Y'all are really filling in the needs that, being a safety net for our communities. And I just love that for them. I love that for us. And I just give y'all flowers today. If nobody told you how important your work is, we thank y'all for that. And that's gonna wrap. I know we're 3 minutes over. Y'all got something to do, but Kelsey and I will stay on this Zoom. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. We're gonna hang tight if y'all need anything from us. Otherwise, thank y'all so very much. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see y'all at a one-on-one or at group coaching. Awesome. Good feedback.